My name is Michaela. I'm 23 years old. For Mental Health Awareness Week, I'd like to share my story with you.
How would you describe the feeling of your mental health disorders?
It's kind of like tug of war. Demons are kind of like at one side pulling and I'm at the other side, but nobody wins just because it's such a tough battle every day.
What diagnoses do you have, and do you take medicine?
In about grade 7, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and then just recently I was diagnosed with ADHD and borderline personality disorder. For those, I do take medications. I've changed frequently just because your body becomes immune to them eventually. So right now I take sertraline, and that really helps me.
What were some of the signs that you were depressed?
When I was younger, for sure, it was just being low and sad and irritable. Just recently, I realized that I was doing things that weren't necessarily normal that I had always been doing. For my borderline personality, I struggled a lot as a teenager, and I would go through friends a lot for no particular reason, and I would do things that were not necessarily safe, I guess, and that's what that's a big symptom of borderline personality disorders, acting out in ways that kind of get you attention that isn't necessarily good attention.
Do others in your family suffer with mental health, or do you believe it's genetic?
I was adopted as a newborn, so I never really knew my birth family until I was older. I have come to realize that my birth mother does struggle with mental illnesses quite heavily. So she suffers from depression and anxiety just like me, and then she also suffers from borderline and ADHD. So I do believe that it is genetic, but I also believe that it's environmental, and certain traumas, I guess, or certain things that have happened in your life can certainly play a impact on your mental illness.
If you could go back in time, what would you do differently?
For sure, I would go to therapy. I can't count the number of times I tried different therapists and tried different psychiatrists and tried different counselors, but I could never find one that fully worked for me. And so I would go for about a week, and then I would stop, and then I would do that cycle continuously and never actually find somebody that I liked. And I think that had I found somebody that worked for me, I could have avoided my mental illnesses progressing so far to the point they did. And I would also just take my medication, because there was times that I would stop taking my medication and I would think that I'm fine, and so I'd go off of them and I wasn't fine. And it's kind of one of those things, you're okay till you're not okay, so you always need to be on top of it and getting the help you need.
Who are some of the people you reach out to when you're feeling low?
I go to therapists now frequently, and I reach out to my mom. She's a really good support. Whether or not she can give advice, it's just helpful to have somebody there to listen to, And I've learned to share a lot, because I used to never share and used to never open up, but that kind of bottled it inside for me, and so I've realized that sharing helps a lot. Whether it's people on the internet or just family, it really helps to open up.
What are some other things that keep you going?
Right now it's my children. They keep me up, they keep me going, and for them I know I have to get up every day and keep fighting. It also helps me to be active. I used to powerlift competitively for about 8 years, and that was something for me that woke me up and made me feel strong mentally and physically, and it made me realize that my body was capable of a lot more than I would think it is. So there's a few things that I do to keep me going on a day-to-day basis, and I think it's important to find that thing that keeps you going, because without that you're not going to want to go.
Did your friends and family know that you were depressed?
My family definitely realized that before I realized that. It's hard to say just because I was diagnosed so young. I don't really remember, but obviously my mom noticed enough to try to get me the help that I needed. And my friends, I wasn't really as open as I am now when I was younger, so I'm sure they knew that I was different, but I never really said anything about mental illness.
Have you ever been hospitalized? And if so, how did this help you?
I was hospitalized in 2018 for a week. I had just gotten over a really bad breakup, and I was a single parent to my daughter, and I think all that kind of added together, and so I was really unwell. I remember my house was just a disaster, which is, if you know me, you know that I'm a very clean person, and I keep my stuff very organized. And one of the signs that showed everyone I was very unwell is my house was a disaster. My dishes were roof high, and I had told my mom one night to keep my daughter, and I told her to keep her well and to take care of her. And I deleted all my social medias because I didn't need them. And I didn't have a plan, but I knew that I didn't want to be here anymore. So I I ended up taking myself to the hospital just because I didn't have a plan, and I knew I didn't really want to die. I just didn't want to feel the pain, you know. So I ended up taking myself, and they ended up admitting me for a week in the psych ward, which was really awful. It felt like prison, but in the end, I came out so much better and so much healthier, and I learned ways to cope. I learned ways to better myself, and I learned how to get through tough situations without feeling like I need to take my own life.
How can I help my friend who seems to be depressed?
I don't think there's a way you can help your friends unless they want to get help themselves, but you can definitely support them and just be a listening ear is about as much as I feel like you can do, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that need to take the medication. They're the ones that need to go to therapy, you know. So it's all about just being supportive and listening. And if you don't understand, just say, like, I hear you, and I care about you, and is there anything else I can do for you? But I would leave the help to the professionals, just because you don't want to overstep your boundaries and do something that maybe could potentially wreck your friendship.
Do you have any suggestions for how other people dealing with mental illness can cope?
I would say to find somebody that can properly help you. There is people out there. There is somebody for everybody, and whether that's a therapist or a counselor or psychiatrist, there is somebody out there for you. I also think that it's important to find, again, that thing that keeps you going. Everybody needs something that keeps them going and makes them happy, and, you know, makes them want to live. Yeah.
How do you know when you're on the right medication?
It's definitely trial and error, just because I have tried a lot of medications and the side effects weren't good, or they just didn't agree with me. So it's definitely something that only you know what goes on in your body. So it's something that you need to just try and maybe try again.
As a final closing thought, what would be your goal and message that you want to spread?
To just take care of your mental health, even on the good days. Never stop working on it, because as soon as you think you're okay, you're not okay. And to advocate for yourself, because I know a lot of times there was things that the doctors probably missed on me, and had I advocated more for myself, they probably would have been caught sooner. So it's really important to know yourself and push for the results that you want, because only you know how your body feels.